In this video, I'll show you how you can import any Word document into Verbum and make it work just like any other resource in your library. You may have personal notes or class syllabi or talks or writings that you have prepared that you would love to have in Verbum. Let's see how we can do just that. Here I have an example of a personal book that I have imported into Verbum. And notice how this book, this resource looks just like any other resource here in Verbum. I have a table of contents on the left that I can navigate to. The text is in bold in different colors. If I scroll down here a little bit, there are links that open up resources to my library in Verbum where I can look up these texts. This is a document that I prepared about the early Christians on Mary as the new Eve. How can I prepare other documents like this and import them into Verbum? Here I have a document that I've been working on early Christians as the Eucharist, where I've been collecting different writings from the early church fathers, the early Christians on the Eucharist. And I've been color coding them. Here I have in blue just general topic of the Eucharist. In red, texts that refer to the Eucharist as a representation of the one sacrifice of Christ. And in green, texts that highlight the Eucharist as the real presence. And notice here, as I scroll down, we have, again, different colors, and I have links to Verbum. How can I add a new link to Verbum? Let's go ahead and add a link to the first apology here. I just added this in, and I still need to add the link. If I come back to Verbum, I have here open this text from St. Justin Martyr where he speaks about the Eucharist. And you can add a hyperlink to any resource or location in Verbum by coming up here to the Resource Panel menu with these three dots and come down to the option Copy Location As. And there are a number of different options here, but the one that is of interest for us here in personal books is the L4 option. This will create a link directly to your Verbum application and open it up. The other one which you may want to consider using, depending on how you use Verbum, is the URL option. This will open up the resource in the Verbum web app, and then it will also open it up in your desktop. I'm fine with it just opening it up directly in the desktop. So I'm going to click L4 here, and that will copy the link to my clipboard. And now when I come back to Microsoft Word, I can select the text that I would like to hyperlink, and I will type Control K, it's Command K on a Mac, and paste the address here into the Insert Hyperlink dialog that Microsoft Word opens up for me. And now when I click OK, Microsoft Word has created here a hyperlink for me to Verbum. Notice here as well that I have here in Word the table of contents, and I've created this table of contents using heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and so on, the default options for styles in Microsoft Word. And you can see this here if I click on the text 2nd century and come up here to styles, it is set to heading 1, and St. Ignatius of Antioch is set to heading 2. As long as your headings are set to heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, Verbum will create a table of contents that'll work great for you in your personal books. Now, once you have the book all ready, go ahead and save it and close it out, and let's import it into Verbum. To do so, come over to the Tools menu, and you can either scroll down to the Personal Books tool, it's under Utilities, or I'll simply type it into the search bar here and open it up. If you're using this a lot, feel free to pin this to the top. You can just right-click on any element here in the Tools menu and pin that to the top. I'm just going to open it up here. And notice here it lists to me the personal books that I have already created. So I have here the personal book, Early Christians on Mary as the New Eve. And there is an option to add book. So go ahead and click on that. And a little dialog opens up here where I can fill in the title. I will give it the title, Early Christians on the Eucharist. And I can give it author, say Church Fathers. You can select the type. Here, monograph works great, but there are other types available, such as lectionary or Bible or study Bible and so on. And language. And language will help Verbum identify the biblical references that are in your document. So if you are using a foreign language, you'll want to choose that to help Verbum recognize those biblical references. Down here in the Add File button, you can go ahead and add the Word document. It has to be a docx format. So if you're not using Microsoft Word, just be sure to export it as a docx file. I'm going to choose Early Christians on the Eucharist and open. And now this appears here in the list of body files that I have added to the personal book. You can also add an icon or a cover to the book, and I'm going to do so here. I'll choose the Institution of the Eucharist by Fra Angelico, which I exported here from my Verbum library, and open. And once you have everything ready, just go ahead and click on Build Book. And it'll just take a second or two. It could take longer if it's a big book, of course, but Verbum will open up for you a resource that has been compiled. And notice here, as I scroll down, I have here the Bible references are working. This is not something that I had prepared in Word. Verbum simply recognized that this is a Bible reference and activates it. I have here links to my library that I can click on and open up to Didache 14, for example. And the colors look great. I have here in the hamburger menu as well the table of contents, which is also working really well. Even in the library here now, if I filter by early Christians, as I've done here, notice I have here early Christians on Mary as the new Eve, and now early Christians on the Eucharist. It appears as any other book in my library, and it will appear as well in search results. So this is a great tool if you have a lot of Word documents that you would love to import into Verbum. You can use personal books to do so.